And one of the nicest ladies I know is Georgia Engel, the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Dean Martin, the king of cool, was once an immortal Hollywood icon whose presence on stage meant a cocktail in hand and an unmistakable smile.
Oh, Mr. Harris!
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, Mr. Harris.
Oh, you're coming through.
Every word you said is absolutely true.
But 31 years after his passing, layers of mystery still shroud the true life of this man. Recently, his daughter, Deanna Martin, has officially stepped forward to lift the veil on the rumors that have clung to her father for decades. The revealed truths not only shatter every misconception, but also completely redefine the legend of Dean Martin. This is a journey to discover the real human being behind the vibrant aura of the King of Cool. The classic image of Dean Martin in the public eye for decades was always associated with a half-burnt cigarette and a glass of strong liquor in his hand. He often appeared on the stage of The Dean Martin Show or at performances in Las Vegas with a languid demeanor, dreamy eyes, and dry jokes about his drinking habits. Audiences at that time were completely convinced that behind his resounding success was a hedonistic party lifestyle where strong liquor was an indispensable source of inspiration for timeless hits. This confusion was so great that people considered his constant intoxication an inevitable part of the King of Cool title. However, the truth behind that alluring mask is completely contrary to what fans once believed. In many conversations, Deanna Martin, his daughter, has exposed a completely different side of her legendary father. She asserted that the image of a Dean Martin always in a tipsy state was merely a performance, a stage technique calculated with extreme care. According to Deanna's shares on Fox News, her father created a persona he called the laid-back guy to build intimacy with the audience. Deanna explained that in the glass Dean Martin held on stage that amber-colored liquid was never strong liquor. Instead, he only used apple juice or diluted soda. "My dad was not an alcoholic as people rumored. It was just a part of his performance. He needed to be sober to work, and he truly did that well," Deanna affirmed. This truth has completely changed the perception of the actor's professionalism. He deceived the entire world with such grace that even those working closely with him had to admire his ability to control the stage. Not only Deanna, but former associates have also spoken up to confirm the strict discipline hidden behind his intentionally lazy appearance. Dean Martin understood that fame is a high-pressure game, and to maintain his position amidst a glamorous but harsh Hollywood, he needed a cool head. Stories about him always completing scenes accurately, remembering lines perfectly, and never arriving late to film sets have become proof of a true artist. The openness he displayed was actually the confidence of a person mastering his own skills completely, rather than the result of stimulants. Every gesture, the wink, or the way he leaned against the piano were small details he polished carefully. After many years of misunderstanding, the public finally grasped that behind the glamour was an extremely orderly man. This truth acts as a beam of light sweeping away long-held misconceptions, opening the door to a private world filled with strict principles that he silently maintained. The contrast between the public image and the real person prepared the way for a deeper look into the traditional values he painstakingly cultivated for his home. Seriousness in work served as a springboard for a man who always placed family as the #1 priority amidst the temptations of the entertainment world. A family man. The Dean Martin image in 20th century pop culture was often linked to the label of a philanderer. Surrounded by famous associates like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. in the Rat Pack, he was branded by the media of that time as a lavish player, someone wasting energy on extravagant parties and fleeting relationships. However, the truth behind the rumors is a completely different lifestyle. Deanna Martin, his daughter, has repeatedly affirmed in interviews that her father was a man with family values deeply rooted in Italian tradition. He was not the glamorous figure on stage, but a strict father who always placed family discipline first. Life at Dean Martin's private residence was a world completely separated from Hollywood. Deanna described her father as a traditional dad who always established rigid rules that the children had to follow absolutely. In her memoir, she recounted that he always required the children to clean rooms, complete homework on time, and especially to be present in full at family meals. "My dad was a family man. He set rules, and if you did not want to live by those, that was a big problem," Deanna shared. For him, dinner was not just time to eat, but a sacred moment to bond the members, where the pressures of stage lights were completely left outside the front door. In reality, the contrast between the public image and his private life has been verified by close associates. Patty Gribbo, who worked with him for many years as a singer and dancer in The Gold Diggers, has refuted the prejudices about a philanderer. In the work Beyond Our Wildest Dreams, she asserted, "The Dean Martin image appeared as a romantic, but in reality, he was one of the kindest and most polite men I ever met." According to Gribbo, even while always surrounded by beautiful women, Martin never made any inappropriate comments. His calmness and respect for women were the results of strict education from his Italian-origin family in Steubenville, Ohio. Maintaining the image of a dashing man on stage was actually a subtle career strategy, helping him successfully separate his daily self from his entertainment role. This tidiness was also shown through how he managed time. Instead of indulging in scandalous pleasures after work, he prioritized healthy hobbies like golfing or spending quiet time with family. Deanna noted that her father's seriousness was not only for film or music projects, but also served as a compass for how he raised his children. This explains why, despite standing at the peak of fame, his private life still maintained the necessary privacy before media scrutiny. This discipline was the key that helped him maintain his form for decades. When facing false rumors, he rarely explained or justified. Instead, he let kindness in his conduct serve as proof. This life attitude created a lasting attraction, making Martin not only a star, but also a model of constancy. These values created an important premise, helping him stand firm through major fluctuations in a highly tense colleague relationship. The breakdown of the Martin and Lewis duo afterwards was not only an artistic rift, but also an expensive lesson about self-respect between two close friends. The rift of a legend. The relationship between Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis was not merely a simple artistic collaboration, but became a symbol of the American entertainment industry throughout a golden decade. From 1946 to 1956, this pair conquered audiences through 17 feature films, a series of hit television programs like The Colgate Comedy Hour, and sold-out nights at prestigious nightclubs. However, behind that vibrant aura was the gradual accumulation of disagreements in creative thinking and pressure from the media. The tension reached a peak when differences in work styles became irreconcilable. Jerry Lewis, an artist with a tireless work spirit, always longed to control every aspect from script to directing, while Dean Martin desired a more balanced work pace to enjoy personal life. The turning point that caused deep hurt for Dean Martin was how the media and even insiders perceived their roles. In the eyes of the public and critics at that time, Jerry Lewis was often favored and called the true star of the duo, while Martin was only seen as the juggler or sidekick. This injustice reached a peak in 1954 when Look magazine published an image of the duo on the cover, but intentionally cropped out Dean Martin. For an artist who placed self-respect at the forefront, this action was an unforgivable humiliation. It was this lack of respect that pushed Martin to the decision to stop, as he felt he was no longer an equal partner in the work. The event ending the collaboration happened after the final performance at the Copacabana nightclub on July 25, 1956, exactly 10 years after the day they began. During the final days at the set of the film Hollywood or Bust, the relationship between the two had become so cold that they only communicated through director Frank Tashlin. Bitter exchanges were recorded in which the famous quote by Martin to Lewis, "You are nothing to me but a dollar sign," became evidence of an irreparable breakdown. From that moment, both began separate solo careers. Martin shone in the Rat Pack and individual television programs, while Lewis continued his ambitious filmmaking journey at Paramount Pictures. What shocked the public most was the silence lasting 20 years afterward. Both resolutely refused to mention each other's names and avoided any direct face-to-face encounters, creating a wall of silence covering the once intimate relationship. This rigidity caused Jerry Lewis to admit later in his final years that it was a thoughtless decision. The stupidity of that I cannot express. It was an ignorance I hope I will always forget. Lewis confided, "This prolonged silence was not only the pain of two individuals, but also an expensive lesson about self-respect and the overly large ego in a highly competitive entertainment environment." Not until 1976, thanks to the arrangement by Frank Sinatra in the Jerry Lewis MDA Labor Day Telethon, did the audience witness a moving reunion on national television. Although the hug between them on stage made millions of fans believe in a full reconciliation, the reality behind the scenes was much more complex. The rift was not completely removed immediately, but had to wait until facing a greater loss in family life to truly understand the value of forgiveness. Those tragic incidents in the later stages forced Dean Martin to face the pain of losing a loved one, completely changing how he viewed the past. This change in mindset led him toward the final decisions in a life journey full of ups and downs. Tragedy and silence. March 1987 marked an unhealable wound in the life of Dean Martin when his son, Dean Paul Martin, perished in a horrific plane crash. Dean Paul, then a captain in the Air National Guard, went missing while performing a training flight over the San Bernardino Mountains, California. His F-4C Phantom plane struck the mountainside in severe weather conditions, causing a large-scale search involving the military and rescue forces. This event pushed Dean Martin, who always kept a calm exterior, into a deep and prolonged psychological crisis. The media at that time described the music legend's pain as a quiet collapse. After his son's passing, Dean Martin almost withdrew from all public entertainment activities. Close friends, including members of the Rat Pack, all confirmed that his personality changed completely since this incident. Original optimism and cheerful demeanor were gradually replaced by a state of depression and alienation from the outside world. According to reports recorded from relatives, Dean Martin no longer found meaning in standing under stage lights. He spent most of his time in his apartment limiting communication with the outside and refused most invitations to participate in new art projects, including offers to reunite with big names. In a desperate attempt to seek comfort, Dean Martin sought out unconventional methods. Documents later revealed he worked with a psychic to search for clues about his son's crashed plane. Though this caused many conflicting opinions in public opinion and the media at the time, it clearly reflected the shattered mental state of a father trying to face grim reality. Jerry Vale, a longtime close friend, once shared in interviews that Dean Martin, after 1987, seemed to be walking in a soulless state. This loss not only weakened physical health, but also eroded the will to live of one of America's greatest entertainers. This pain was not merely the loss of a child, but the loss of a spiritual anchor. Dean Paul was not only a son, but also someone Dean Martin placed much hope and pride in. This event created an unfillable void in his personal life, which had already been fractured by failed previous marriages. Those around him noticed that ever since his son's passing, Dean Martin no longer appeared with the demeanor of a silver screen star, but as the image of an elderly man facing severe psychological trauma. He became more reclusive, and daily life revolved only around monotonous habits, completely separated from the noise of Hollywood. This collapse created direct negative impacts on his health in the following years. Self-neglect and declining will to live made him easily attacked by health issues. Within the darkness of this loss, forecasts about the end of his life became clearly visible, signaling the proud and self-contained decisions he would make in the final stage. That pain became an inseparable part of his legacy, redefining how the world perceived the man once considered the king of cool. The legacy of a legend. Following the intense psychological turbulence brought on by the tragic loss of his son, Dean Martin retreated into the final chapters of his life, with a notably quiet and detached demeanor, distancing himself from the spotlight that had defined him for so long. In 1991, he stepped onto the stage one last time for his final performance in Las Vegas, a city that remained intrinsically and inextricably linked to his name throughout a truly glorious and celebrated career. This poignant moment marked the definitive conclusion of an extraordinary artistic journey that had spanned over half a century, effectively closing the curtains on a golden era he once dominated alongside his close-knit colleagues in the Rat Pack, and through his various top-tier entertainment programs. This final public appearance no longer carried the roaring noise of enthusiastic applause or the blinding brilliance of stage lights. Instead, it simply signified the somber, peaceful end of a long, legendary phase filled with both soaring highs and devastating lows. Not long after bidding farewell to the bright lights of the stage in September 1993, medical professionals delivered a devastating diagnosis: Dean Martin was battling lung cancer. Confronted with the cold, harsh reality of such a formidable disease, the legendary musician made a remarkably proud and proactive decision regarding his own fate. He firmly chose to refuse any and all invasive medical interventions, including complex surgeries or the grueling, exhausting rounds of prolonged chemotherapy treatments. Instead, he chose to spend his final days in private space at his residence in Beverly Hills, California. This was how he faced destiny. In the true spirit of the King of Cool, he had built self-contained, brave, and not reliant on fear regarding the end of life. December 25, 1995. Dean Martin passed away at age 78 due to acute respiratory failure from complications of emphysema. News of his passing on Christmas Day caused a strong shock in public opinion and left a huge void in the hearts of fans worldwide. To commemorate the great artist, management in Las Vegas performed a symbolic gesture. A series of neon lights on the Las Vegas Strip simultaneously turned off to honor the sun who contributed to shaping the city's appearance. The image of darkness covering the entertainment capital became a symbol of infinite mourning by the public for a talented artist. Frank Sinatra, his closest friend in both career and life, shared the pain of loss with touching words. "Dean is like a part of the air. I breathe, always present and close. He is not just a friend. He is the brother I chose as family." The connection between them was not just ordinary friendship, but proof of a lasting bond through decades, overcoming harsh trials of fame and time. Martin's passing marked the end of a golden generation in the history of American entertainment, where talent and personal style were placed in supreme positions. Looking back at the entire career journey, Dean Martin once shared a simple wish about how he wanted to be remembered. "I only want people to think I am a good guy, a person who did pretty well and was loved by everyone." Though his legacy includes a series of music albums, classic motion pictures, and unforgettable television programs, what the public treasures most remains the authenticity he lived and contributed. The truth about his life, once covered by layers of rumors and misconceptions for decades, was finally cleared up thanks to open sharing from the family. It is not a story about a drug-addicted star or a philanderer, as the press once embroidered, but a journey of an Italian-origin man with steadfast traditional values, who used professionalism to create the image of a legend. Today, when mentioning Dean Martin, people not only remember the King of Cool, but also treasure a model of an artist who knew when to stop, lived fully with his true self, and maintained his character before the storms of fame. The truth about his life, affirmed after over 3 decades, has completed the picture of an immortal cultural icon. If you feel impressed by the inspiring journey of legend Dean Martin, do not forget to click the like button for this video. Please share this story with those who also love the style of the King of Cool, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next fascinating documentary films.